Everything's good. It's another exciting installment of the Terrorisk podcast. It's another beautiful day. Fun announcement. Instead of that trip that we were gassing up, we're probably just going to do a Terrorisk party, which means any local listeners, if you're friends with me on social media, you could get an invitation. I'll probably just like mass send it on Facebook or something.
Yeah.
Only to locals, like people that actually know in the city. Hopefully there's not too many. The only problem is I might have to like buy like a whole new DJ deck if I can't get my old one back from Bo. I don't know what she did with it, but hopefully she still got it. And if she does, then I could just grab it. But yeah, that'll be nice. I haven't DJ'd in a minute, and I don't know.
We're in warm, mild fall. I mean, August, I've never had such a good August weather-wise. It was just totally temperate, like 70 degrees month long. And September seems about the same.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm excited to party a bit. I haven't done the partying thing in like a long time, and it's also kind of become like a tradition at this point for the past few years, like doing a party for my birthday. Except the last 2 years, it was at Bochella.
Yeah.
And there are like a lot of friends I would like to catch up with this year for my birthday. Like there's my old friends growing up who invited me to their wedding or invited me to a show. And you want to just do it for Friday?
Yeah, aim for Friday. Let's do Friday rather.
Friday, we'll do Friday.
Gives us what, 2 weeks?
Say a little more than that, maybe.
Yeah.
I'll work on getting the booze. Already got the sound set. I could do that shit in my sleep. We could have Richie do video, like if we could get a projector, that would be sick. I think
Projector would be great, yeah. We find like just for if you're just doing visuals for like a house show or whatever, you don't need a nice projector.
Yeah, it's true.
You don't need to, if you're not watching a movie, like you often buy a cheap projector and then the video quality sucks when you're watching a movie, and it's like, this thing is worthless. But those kind of projectors are still great for having like events or having something just on in the background.
Also, like, I don't know. I mean, I've been to parties at your place, and I've always had fun. It's just the crowd seems a little socially weird.
Yes, I'm aware. I mean, it's friends of mine, yeah.
I mean, like, but it would be interesting if I got like my more local-based friends from the city mingling with your weirdo friends. I think that would be a really funny, interesting thing.
It'll be a fun social dynamic going on, yeah.
Yeah, and there's probably some of our mutuals that would probably come down, or if they're around,
Definitely would, yeah. It'd be an interesting mixing and sound like a chill, nice night.
Maybe we could do some sword fighting under the bridge. Or the overpass.
That would be cool, especially if it's one of the nights when there's... I live here, but I don't drive, so I don't keep track of when you're allowed to park underneath it. But some nights it's almost completely empty under the underpass.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm being like a neurotic
what's
baby
fucked up?
bitch.
Like,
I just don't want someone's car getting hit.
No, I got ticketed there before. I understand. It's just that it's ironic because like we were planning the trip for so long, but this party might be a lot more feasible and a lot more efficient and a lot
cheaper and funner and
better for the podcast because like it's literally going to be I'm going to give it to a Terrorisk party, and it's AKA Chris's birthday, but I want it to be more for like us,
Yeah, exactly. It's been so long since I've had a party.
And
also, the house is just too fucking hot in summer.
And this will be the first podcast promotional event.
Mm-hmm.
Should we call it a mixer?
Or mixer sounds nice, actually. Like an ice cream social.
Yeah. Carmen and Chris presents the Terrorisk mixer, or let's just say that like because it's more than us two at this point. So like let's just say it's Terrorisk presents
Yeah. 10 cc's for Carmen and Chris.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. I could even probably do that party without drinking too much, just to, because like I'm like over that. Like I've been to enough parties at your house where I got really fucked up. Like I could just go there just to like mingle and make the podcast look fun and more substantial than it really is. Just two guys in my living room. But I mean, look, dude.
Well, you're such a relentlessly great hype man, whereas I'm both so painfully honest, and I'm just like, yeah.
Yo, I never once made the claim that this podcast was ever gonna blow up overnight. However, it's still getting more subscribers than I ever thought it would. I already came into this saying like I will never get more than like 10 subscribers. Now we're at like 155. That's like 140 more than I thought we would ever have, But I think that's mostly because I was willing to go out with the brand.
Even if only 10% of those subscribers actually ever watch, that's still more than you initially expected.
Dude, it's more than that. It's like on average, like anywhere between like 20 to 40 something. 40 is like probably like pushing it, but like every time
So 20s, 30s, yeah.
And I don't count like the fucking other ones like on the other platforms, but I don't know. I mean, we could check it right now.
Yeah.
It's not crazy engagement for like this is where I think it's like
you've been doing this for what, a year and a half?
Coming up on 2 years. It's awesome, dude. Like because I don't care, like because it's like I'll never really get tired of doing it. It's just fun, So we have at least like 10 to 15 hardcore fans. Which sometimes I wonder, it's like to the viewer, like what must we be like to them? Like are we just these two fucked up weird guys, or are we just like really cool chill guys that they wish they could hang out with? Are we just like
people that just put on in the background and they ignore?
I mean, I always thought the best part of a podcast was being like a fly on the wall of a conversation,
Yeah, all the parasocial lines and things about it. But damn, yeah, averaging 2 hours. Yeah, there's a lot of fuck.
There you go. And like it took a little while, but it's really fleshed out into something consistent. It used to be a lot more sporadic and random, and now it's like kind of locked in. Like sometimes we talk about like metaphysics, sometimes we talk about race, sometimes we talk about movie. It's pretty much what you could expect. Like if you were hanging out with a couple of New York City residents at a bar, this is pretty much how it would go down. We'd be drinking, we'd be talking, we'd be lamenting, we would be...
Yeah, you kind of have a routine things you talk about with people. You ever have like friendships where it's like this friend is a person I talk about X subject with? Not that it's limited to that, but or like even deliberately thinking of it that way, but it naturally ends up happening that, oh, this person has this thing going on. I'm projecting too much for my job too, where I had that dynamic, especially with regulars.
It used to be like that for me. It used to be like that. Like my dad, I would always talk about with like blue collar politics and shit like that. Or with like you, I would talk about more, like subcultural outlets like movies and music and culture. Or with like, it used to be that way. Or like, with dojo mates, I would talk about martial arts and more mechanical things about living and like cars and shit. But like, since I had a spiritual awakening, I got a lot more invasive with the way I communicate with everyone in my life. But it's only proven, like, it's only given me good results. Like, it was only like a few years ago I started talking about like, do you believe in God? Do you believe in a soul? What does magic mean to you? Like, define magic using your own words. Once I started, for example, talking to my dad about this, he really looked at me in a different way. He talks to me very differently now, like than he did like more than a few years ago. And I remember when it all changed. It was that summer I won the fucking sword tournament. That's when I know for a fact that's when I wrote it down. Like I was journaling then, so I have it on paper. Like I see where my head was at right at that day. That's why journaling's so fucking important. It's so insightful for yourself, It's insightful. It gives you great insight into your own self. Yeah.
And to what you're doing at a particular time.
Yep.
Things that you would otherwise just dissolve into memory.
On top of that,
instead written down. And also when you read it, you get like your memories of those times suddenly flash back and you strongly recall, as opposed to only lightly recall.
On top of that, the podcast changed heavily when I went through that, because like I still remember that episode, like when I first like started incorporating metaphysics into it, and that was also when I started getting more subscribers, because like I was streaming with Andreas, and I think what drove me to stream with Andreas is because I was going through that experience and I really didn't have anyone to talk about it, and that didn't upset me because I understood. I understood why, like, some people have schizophrenic breaks when they go through something like this. Some people end up at a fucking psych ward. Some people end up like becoming a fucking full-blown spiritual narcissist. And that's, you know, what I was trying to avoid. So I wasn't trying to force it on people. I wasn't trying to start a cult or anything, because like that was so cliche to me at that point. This is why I think spiritual awakenings are different nowadays. But anyway, I digress. After going through that, like I was on YouTube, like still in my Facebook groups, and only in one of the groups, advanced philosophy memes, was there a fellow like content creator, like a guy who was actually streaming, making videos like I was doing, like podcasting. So I reached out to him, and like, I reached out once, and he was like, all right. But then like, since we were friends on Facebook, he started seeing the shit I was posting about like spirituality, harmony of mind, body, soul. But then he also saw the other stuff I posted, like my God, these, stuff about, I would really lay heavy on like LGBT stuff or Trump supporter stuff or like, or Proud Boys stuff or like Black Lives Matter. I would really shit on all of the above. And then he would look at me and be like, "You're not like Yukio." You know who Yukio Mishima? Is that who it is?
Yukio Mishima.
Yukio Mishima. He's like, "You're not like Yukio Mishima, are you?" I was like, "Nah, I'm just a Korean guy." And he's like, "Oh, thank God. I thought you were Japanese, man. Koreans are like my favorite people, dude." I was like, "Thanks." So, we hit it off, and like, since then, he's the only other content creator that I know personally who was interested in diving into like metaphysics and shit like that, God. But because of that, I was able to, that also gave me confidence to like carry that forward in life, because it was like, I'm not the only one that's going through that, like other people, some people are a little more schizo than I am, like I would admit, when it comes to spiritual living, like I'm way more, concerned with material wellness than I think a lot of other people like that,
You are actually, which is more well balanced. A lot of people are just totally adverse, or they're engaged in scams
or sex cults.
Yeah. A lot of those things just are so exploitative, obviously.
And I'm not trying to like pat myself on the back here. To me, it's more like I'm lucky, like I'm lucky I sidestepped all these, because like I realized that's the reason why I didn't engage with any of this in the first place, because I saw too many of the cults and the fucking scams and the sex cults and shit, and I was like, that's very unsavory.
Yeah, it is.
But I think what really liberated me was understanding that it's not about the other people. It's really your personal relationship with your soul and this thing, and in turn, how that connects with everyone else. Yeah. And that's just going to shine a light on their own relationship with their souls and all that.
Very evangelical. I mean, in the literal sense of the word. I mean,
not like the, not like.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, those people, like the religious movements that are evangelical, often they feel the same way about having a personal relationship with God and feeling compelled to tell others about it so they can reach a personal relationship with God.
But to me, I saw parallels between that with dudes in history who quote unquote reached enlightenment, and I don't mean like Buddha, but I mean like. For example, my martial arts studies led me to read like Musashi's book or Sun Tzu's book. And, like with that, I didn't see like too many intersections with that and like Western forms of like higher spiritual religiosity or theocracy or whatever, but I did kind of see like different fingers pointing in a similar direction, like, Musashi would say, like, once you find the way in one thing, like once you find mastery in pottery or swordsmanship.
And when he says the way, he's saying Tao or Zen, right? Because he's Japanese.
Well, I think what he was alluding to was that when you take a given practice or discipline, you could take it to such an extent where if you truly devoted to it, you will find enlightenment. You will find spiritual awakening, because when you the more you pursue a discipline, the less it becomes about you. The more like every day you go to sword class, like other things start to fall away. Like, yo, you want to go on another drinking binge this week? Nah, man, I got to go to sword class. Yo, do you want to go out and get drunk and then go back to your place and have sex and do crack or whatever? No, I got sword class. Yo, you want to go and fucking throw eggs at these fucking liberals? No, I got sword class. Like, you see, like, and it could be anything. It could be like, no, I got pottery class, or no, I got a podcast to do. It's like whatever practice that you follow, it's gonna burn away a lot of things.
Yeah.
And if you take it to far enough, what's left? Eventually, like every bit of the bullshit that made up you, which is all of us, 99% of what makes up our identity is bullshit. So through that practice, through that discipline, through the doing, you become one with the process. The you, the I, the we ceases to exist, and it becomes just the process. And that's like that's very evangelical, What room is there for sinning when there's pots to be made, tea to be poured, swordsmanship to be practiced, you know, poems to be written, books to be read, mountains to be drawn. But the idea is once you draw so many fucking mountains, once you win enough sword fights, once you pour 1,000,000 cups of tea, once you learned how to make tea better than everyone else, then what? Then it's like, then you realize I'm a master now. Great. Now what? I still have to fetch water. I still have to carry buckets. I still have to chop wood. What good was it? And that is also, you know, like, that's like finding God almost. It's like, what was the point of all of that? What was the point of robbing all those banks? What was the point of going on those crusades? What was the point of raping all those infidels? Like, now what? I'm a baron. I have my land. I was rewarded for the work I did for God, and I still have to live with all the men I slaughtered, all those things. Now what? And then they reach their, you know, repentance. They're like, oh, fuck, I was so stupid. And then ideally they become a monk or whatever. I don't know. Same with Musashi. Musashi killed like 70-something guys before he was like, wait a minute, this is wrong. Like, I mean, I'm glad I'm this strong, and I'm glad I got to go through it because it made me who I am. But still, like, who I am at this point doesn't matter now that I'm an old-ass man. Might as well write a book.
I don't remember what it's called, but the memoir of Goths of the Iron Hand. He was like a 16th century robber knight in like Germany. Very similar to Musashi. Like you can see a direct European equivalent, albeit under different dynamics. Basically same time.
What was his conclusion?
He's doing something very similar, albeit from a Christian background. He's coming into Christ or coming into awareness.
But what was his conclusion after taking all those lives and honorable engagements?
A bunch of them were not honorable, but he has a similar repentance for what he's done.
Yeah, because he was like, what was the point of all of it? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know I'm good. Like, I know I could fuck up any dude at any time of the day. You know, it's just, what's the point? Invincible is only a word.
Yeah.
Like,
it's also just a fun read in the same way that Musashi stuff is, because he has so many, you know, stupid pratfall things that happen to him where he gets knocked out and taken prisoner, and like he escapes from being a prisoner while his captor is taking a shit.
you know about like Berserk and Vagabond and Viking Saga and all that shit. To me, that's like, those are the only real good critiques on toxic masculinity. Everything else kind of falls flat. Like the way
everything else is coming from a very female perspective that is blind to a lot of actual male experiences.
Well, that's because the difference between like the creative perspective of the male and female thing when it comes to like tragedy or violence is really, I mean, both are drawn to it, both the female and the male. It's just the male like to look at the explosions. Like the men like to look at the explosions, whereas the females are more interested in the aftermath of the explosion.
Yeah.
And the emotional toil that everyone's going through afterwards. We're both drawn to the same event, it's just for different reasons.
Men being interested in things, women being interested in people.
And the reason why stories like Vagabond, Berserk, and whatever are so good when it comes to critiquing the male toxic masculinity is because it shows you the full brunt of the violence, and it shows you the aftermath, and it shows you their period of like enlightenment. They're like, oh shit, I just realized everything's all good. Things will happen as they will happen. To me, it's really just about gratitude. If you could find it in you to be thankful, you're on the right path. In fact, if you're sitting there ever wondering, am I doing the right thing? Stop and figure out one thing to be grateful for, thankful for. If it's not too difficult, then you're probably on the right path.
Yeah. I feel so much gratitude being in New York.
I know you said that.
I always say it. I say it. Yeah. I'm so repetitive with it.
No. I'm glad you have something. I mean, every time I ask that question, like, what are you grateful for? Like, I insist. I don't care what it is. It could be the worst thing ever. Like, I'm grateful for this fucking Mexican that I got to beat the shit. Whatever.
I'm grateful for the Ukraine conflict because I get to see all of this cool and brutal war footage.
And I know it sounds shitty, but even that is better than just dwelling in ingratitude.
Yeah, actually it is.
It truly is. And
man, like, I'm grateful I'm not on the Ukraine front.
Because the truth is, even if you try to make gratitude into an evil act, it's only going to work so far until eventually it purifies itself through the act.
Yeah.
you try to fight, like, put it this way, it's a trick. You try to make yourself be grateful for all the horrible things in the world just to be an evil shit. But then before you know it, you start looking at yourself and you're like, the world really is not a bad place after all. And that it turns you automatically. This is why gratitude is so powerful. And this is why I think, honestly, my only enemies when it comes to pushing gratitude are the other powers that be. Are like the powers of capitalism, for example. Like if there was such an intelligence behind capitalism as a demon, it would be very afraid of all of humanity adopting gratitude. It's what communists don't fucking understand.
Communists, are bound by a very material understanding.
So they'll never they'll never understand being grateful to God. They'll never understand being thankful for the process or life. They'll never understand their energy and their chi and their karma. They don't believe in that shit. They don't allow themselves to. That's why they're such pieces of shit. Their morality is only like is materially correct. When it comes to like,
it's not even that, because communism promised material improvements, but by the 1960s, when you compare the USSR with the USA, the material things were coming through more strongly under capitalism than communism.
That's why capitalism won.
Yeah. It's funny. I think it was like the 70s, the Soviets made a turn from talking about how they were going to be better for the working man to talking about liberating the world. They stopped promising better material standards because they could not keep up with the capitalists.
Yeah.
And obviously the societies were riddled with doubt, riddled with want for Western media, Western genes.
Yeah, we talked about that's one of my favorite talking points we've had on the show before. How like all the communists still want the capitalist stuff.
Yeah. You ever read Fatherland?
No.
It's a pretty good alternate history novel set in the 60s where the Nazis won World War II.
Yeah. I think you told me about that. No, you told me about a similar story like that, something about the Iron Dome.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. Not to be fixated, but
I noticed a theme of
One of the interesting elements of the story is about how the Nazi Reich is having trouble keeping out Western media. So like the Beatles went to Berlin at the same time in like 62, and the Nazi government's concerned about how the German populace is more interested in rock and roll than in being an Aryan Superman.
Yeah.
It does a very good job of saying, like, under this alternate frame, it would have been like the Soviet Union, where you have a sclerotic government that is desperately trying to prevent the cultural influence of the West.
Yeah, good luck with that. I think like one of the biggest problems about trying to fight capitalism or trying to like make an enemy out of capitalism, it's basically going up against Darwinism.
Yeah.
Or Darwinian truths, because it's like capitalism or capitalist development usually unravels a lot like evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you look at nature, like you'll have like a bunch of useless shit like spiders with exploding asses or squirrels with wings, but every once in a while you get like opposable thumbs, and this shit just works, and it turns out to be incredibly important.
Yeah, it just works. Like, this is true, but think about this. I don't know what traditional Tibetan beverages are. Let's say yak's milk. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Like when you have any youth, and it's like you can have yak milk, a glass of yak milk, or you can have a Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Once Coca-Cola is available, almost everyone's going to choose the Coke over the yak's milk.
That's true.
Like a lot of traditional things break down because they're just not as appealing on a raw level as the capitalist product. It's just optimized better. It's the fittest, survival of the fittest.
That reminds me of when my grandma took me on that missionary trip to Thailand when I was like 11, and one of the older kids got yelled at because like he was letting one of the little kids in more of the rural villages play with his CD player.
Yeah.
He was like, "Nah, you can't. That might disrupt something." Like they were just worried. It was funny though.
I mean, it does disrupt something. That kid probably spent like the rest of his life saying like, "I need to get a CD player," so he probably moved to Bangkok.
Yeah.
Maybe he wouldn't have done that if he wasn't exposed to that.
Also, in my sword school, there's a girl that I train with.
Mm-hmm.
She's like my junior, and she talks about, because she's from China, like mainland China. She speaks Mandarin, Japanese. she's probably gonna learn Korean at some point, if I were to guess. But like, she talks about like how the food in northern China can be like less than stellar because they can't grow anything there.
Mhm.
You know, but I thought that's really interesting. Like, even if you did import this shit there, it still wouldn't change too much. Like, it'll still be incredibly hard to like. First of all, the altitude, and second of all, like,
My understanding of China is that they have this huge rural population that's continually flooding into the cities.
well, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
They have a in-country passport, a Hoku, I think, that limits your ability to travel or what cities you can travel to.
Yeah,
And they have illegal. China has illegal Chinese immigrants, people that illegally immigrate to a city they're not supposed to be in, and they work under the table.
yeah. That's also how I know, like, all the there's a number of Chinese immigrants that study swordsmanship at our school. I know they're all probably a lot of them probably come from like privileged backgrounds as far as
Yeah, I'm
Chinese-
sure a bunch of them are from middle-class party member backgrounds. It's often the case with Chinese nationals you meet in America.
Yeah, because they're all like college grad students with like I think a couple have master's degrees or they work in finance or tech, and yeah, they're probably I mean, honestly, it's probably so chill for them. They may seem so like uptight to like the standard American, but like for them, they're probably living it the fuck up compared to staying in China, like high pressure rice cooker environment, like everywhere you look. Not to use the euphemism so liberally, but like seriously,
What euphemism? This is just a straight race joke.
rice cooker?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Pressure cooker, I should say.
Yeah, pressure cooker is what you meant, but rice cooker comes more naturally when talking about the Chinese.
Yeah, and like to them, it's probably like, dude, like the first thing I noticed when I came to America was all the sugar. Like, there's so much access to sugar.
You know about what is it? The North Korean soldiers going out to the Ukrainian front. A lot of the guys just immediately get cell phones for the first time, and they immediately start gooning.
Yeah, yeah, probably like unbelievable to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think like completely denying them. The only way you're going to do this right is if you first become addicted to it and then walk away from it, like Rumspringa shit. You can't just like have a kid avoid like porn and gooning altogether. You have to like first like let them touch it and then show them like, yo, this is like really bad for you though. Like it's like same thing with drinking, I think. It's like kind of like the same shit. That's why Rumspringa is actually like a genius plan.
Rumspringa is also a genius plan because all the Amish who are inclined to leave, and the ones that come back
Or devoted.
and it just keeps happening. And once again, evolutionary factors kick in. They get less and less people leaving the faith.
I wonder if some of those Amish people ever actually like end up as like CEOs of companies when they come out, or like super successful, or if they really are just set up to fail from the get-go.
My knowledge is one thing that's very common is that they become. I met a guy who wasn't Amish, but his father had been Amish and his grandfather had been Amish. And basically, he was just a regular Mennonite as opposed to an Amish super Mennonite. Basically, they left the faith not to go be huge sinner, not to live a degenerate life or to be CEOs.
Just to make money.
No, they left the faith to become like a more normal, very religious person. They like went to the more moderate denomination that is connected to Amish. So I'm guessing that's probably the most common thing when someone leaves the Amish. The most common thing is for them to become a normal Mennonite.
It's not sustainable.
What?
I don't think so. I don't think the Amish are going to be that sustainable.
They're very inbred.
I don't think it's sustainable. Only because the Robert Conquest 3 laws of politics always like at play, even with like cultural groups like that. And they're not really held together. Like,
I mean, it is an explicitly right-wing or conservative organization.
I don't think they're right wing.
Well, they're a very conservative, religious group.
Conservative, yeah, but I don't think they're right wing.
Okay, fair.
Definitely conservative, though. They have to be.
By definition, they are with the way they're living their lives.
I think the Mormons kind of have them beat.
Yeah. If we have an apocalypse or the U.S. government falls, Mormons will very quickly create their own state. That will
The
be
Mormons are
highly
definitely
functioning.
the Mormons are the new Jews.
Yeah.
I think you said they were like the new Muslims. I was like, nah, they're like the new Jews.
They are like more like Jews, yeah.
First of all, they have like enough support from the public. Like they're integrated enough with public living, unlike the Amish. Two, they're very close with God. Like they're
Yeah.
sincere believers. There's no secular Mormons. Like the Mormons are actual believers. you
Yeah.
know? Three, they're happy. I mean, they kind of figured stuff out. Like how, like I always say, like happiness really is a decision,
Yeah.
regardless of your economic or material conditions. You can,
Yeah, as
literally-
Abraham Lincoln said, people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be.
I mean, it's fucking true. Which I know, like a lot of people are gonna. I think like very unintelligent people would argue against that. I think like not. I wouldn't say unintelligent. They're either unintelligent because they haven't thought about it, or they're unintelligent because of like really rough conditions, like keep them from having an open mind. It's really hard to have an open mind when you're fearing for your fucking life every day. You know. That's why I think like the thing that blocks your sexuality is ultimately fear, because like biologically or like biohistorically, like it was really hard to care about breeding and mating when like your life was in threat, under threat, I should say. How do you feel about that, the chakra points and stuff, like the chakra gates? Because I know like
Intriguing, but I don't have much knowledge about it.
it's fine. I don't think it's something. It's like I don't think it's such a dense field of study like biology or anything like that. I mean, even biology is like mostly really. It's so intricate in its categorization of things mostly, because it follows like a whole framework for that. But I like the chalk. It's not. I don't think it's supposed to be dense. It's just more intuitive. You're supposed to like look at it and be like, hey. Like I can't really just like explain that rationally, but it does ring true to my gut or something.
Yeah.
Like each one of these points is supposedly blocked by a specific corresponding a negative emotion. But there were a lot of like Western takes on this too. Like you ever heard of spiral dynamics?
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated by this concept because it really does reflect the chakra points, Like once you get over like all the blockages of each specific color quadrant going up the spiral. Because the truth is, this doesn't just reflect development of the individual, it's also collective. There was a human stage where we were more concerned with, say, like
Survival.
yeah, and then we moved on to magical and animistic frameworks for reality. Then we moved on to more egocentric, with like tribal leaders and shit. And then it moves all the way up. Hopefully, ideally, we get to a point of like integration, holistic integration in the collective. And then hermetic terminology and mysticism. There's a popular phrase that goes "as above, so below." Have you heard this?
Yes, I have many times.
You know what it means, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's kind of how I also apply that to this, or even like unlocking your chakra points. It's like unblocking your chakra points. It's like if one person could do it, that pretty much does mean like collectively, eventually, that does count for humanity as a whole, because we are part of humanity.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, being born in the modern world in America basically has a bunch of these things unlocked already. Like,
Ideally.
Yeah. I'm almost, even if you're very poor in America, you basically are guaranteed to have enough calories.
Yeah.
Being born in America, you might not be, but usually you're outside of
That's still only the bottom one though.
No, I know.
Because above that, then you have like shame or guilt, regret, insecurity. Those are more complex. It gets exponentially more complex.
They are, yeah.
So it's like, but that does also reflect both individually and collectively. And in America, yeah, we might have that bottom root chakra satisfied, but overly satisfied to the point where it's like
It's causing issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. Yeah.
overactive, too much sexual pleasure, you know?
That's probably true for boomers. Nowadays, yeah, people can masturbate freely and everything's out in the open.
I don't know.
but-
There were a lot of hippie boomers, though.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I think, more like hippies were just like a small subculture. But then for the general population, a bunch of hippie developments just became common.
I'm just saying this notion of like holistic or spiritual development is definitely not new
No.
by any means. This is like, it predates our own country. It predates governments. It predates civilization.
Yeah.
We're just putting more of a modern lens over it to make it more understandable or palatable or relevant to us, where life is more artificially complicated. But I think it's not all bad. I mean, like I said, like if Jesus was around in the modern day, we wouldn't think he's the Messiah. We would just think he's like this really chill guy.
I wonder. I feel like he would still seem like the Messiah.
Why?
He was such a unique figure in history.
At that time in history.
Yeah.
Because in that time in history, there was like no running water really. It was hard to make a living. You
Yeah.
had to like farm and shit to survive. So yeah, one guy like who's like, yeah, love thy neighbor and all this shit. Yeah, it seems radical because survival was fucking difficult. So that's why he was, such a pioneer. But then again, like if he came around again,
Well, also, we live in a post-Christ world, or AD. So that's been
I
so
don't
thoroughly
know.
dispersed or
it could be
integrated.
argued that we live in around the time of the second coming. And like I said, if there was a guy like Jesus who came around at this time, maybe it's not so much about one guy. Maybe it's just about being a chill dude carrying the vibe, the spirit of Christ. Not to say become a worshiper of Christ, but to truly embody the spirit of Christ. What was Jesus about? Love thy neighbor, treat everyone as you would treat, do unto yourself. The 10 Commandments. Very simple shit. He didn't add all those other rules that after him, but like again, it's not. And like yeah, if you want to be Christian and follow that orthodoxy, then yeah, they have its own rich history and its own like thousands of years of development and all that shit. However, to be Christ-like is a very different story. I don't think Christ cared much to be worshipped by like all these monuments and all that shit.
I mean, he did say he was the Messiah.
He said he was the Son of God.
Yeah.
He never said you weren't the Son of God.
Right. And certainly an aspect of God in the Trinity.
Well, the Trinity could also be debated because that seems kind of like nonsense. I don't think Christ really pushed the Trinity either.
No, I think he did.
I don't know if he did.
Let me see if I have to look at the Bible again to find actual.
Well, that's
verses
also
on
a
this.
huge point of contentious debate between Christians themselves. Like they
Well, most
argue all day.
Christians are Trinitarians. Most Protestants are. All
Yeah, but there's a
Catholics
lot
are.
of Christians, especially Mormons, for example, that are.
Yeah, Mormons are non-Trinitarian, which is one of the things that makes them weird. Same thing with Jehovah's
I think that's pretty
Witness.
cool to be non-Trinitarian.
To me, it's a fundamental element of being a Christian.
Yeah,
being
but
Trinitarian.
but then Orthodoxy also has its own huge set of problems because a lot of that shit just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense.
what doesn't make sense about the?
I mean, within the context of like objective God,
Yeah.
and like what God would want or what God wouldn't want or what you would do if you were God, for example. But like with Orthodoxy, I think see, that's the problem with any orthodoxy. There's so many contradictions latent within it. If you try to establish so many rules to like metaphysics, like your relationship with metaphysics and stuff, it's like eventually it's going to come to a point of you should do this. Why? Because God said so. Well, God's within me too, and I don't feel that way, And then at that point is like, is that really serving your faith or in your church and in your congregation, or is it actually harming it? Is it harming your control over your flock or not?
I don't know. That would be actually interesting if Jesus came today and he was just seen as a chill dude.
I think that's what the second coming really is.
Hmm.
People like
He could live the entire lifetime here and people would not realize it.
I don't think it was
But
about
that
people,
runs contrary to biblical narrative about his return. But
and it's people becoming more Christ-like, not because they're told to, just because they figured some shit out in life and they're like, oh, like that's it. That's the second coming, and that's really harmful to a lot of power structures. What if everyone thought like, universally? What if everyone was like, everyone's just the same soul living out different lifetimes, different bodies, to harm others, to harm myself? What if we all actually, truly, sincerely adopted that belief? What would the world look like? Would it not be a better world?
it would be a better world.
It would be. And that's so frightening. That's so frightening to people, because like it causes them to, it requires them to let go of a lot of things that make up their identity. For
That's
example,
true.
like a huge portion of my identity for a while was holding others in spite, was to do things out of spite. Like, how sad is that? That like a whole reason for the way I defined myself was how much I disagreed with someone and how much I hated them and disliked them. That's fucked up, dude. You can't
It's also being conformist, going in the opposite direction. Being a contrarian is allowing yourself to be defined by other people and defined by the mob, but just in the reverse.
That's true too.
and
You're still
something I've
enslaved by
done
it.
a lot of my life and still kind of do.
I mean, that's what I really mean too. Yeah, like being a contrarian. That's what I was. Whether I was like going to conform to all this shit I hated would have been terrible, and just be enslaving myself to being like just to alienate myself from a whole section of humanity that I share this earth with. Like that's not healthy either, man.
No, and you're defining yourself as this purely oppositional figure. In some ways, the actual conformist, following the herd, frankly, is probably healthier and better than being someone who's a knee-jerk anti.
You're right.
I hate saying this because it hurts me to say that. It hurts me to say that because I also define myself as a huge contrarian.
Yeah.
And it's painful to say, yeah, I'm doing something as pointless or as dumb as everyone else, only I'm like getting less of a benefit out of it.
Do you think those two things could reconcile?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm
not sure how, but I think so.
I think my personal experience with those two sides reconciling is when I do martial arts, because no one told me to do that. No one told me to start that, and I never got any hint that, oh, this will help me get pussy. This will make me more money. This will make me more popular. I never thought that. It was just something that, in fact, I did it because I was like, no one fucking does this shit. I'm probably going to be the only person I know who actually went for this shit. So that felt cool and contrarian and all that. However,
you know what? It's you get the benefits of working out, but you can also be contrarian to gym bros, guys who are talking about how you have to go to the gym all the time.
Yeah. However, doing that also meant I was basically showing up to a place to be treated like a bitch, as if you told exactly what the fuck to do with my body, and to be told to be obedient and to bow to people. So that's pretty much being an ultimate conformist in a way.
Yeah.
Is to give yourself completely to a practice that's older than you and bigger than you. So that is conformist. So I think that's a good way it reconciled. That satisfied both the human need to be a conformist as well as my individualist need to be a rebel.
Yeah.
What are you looking for, a lighter?
Nah, my pipe tool. I'll find it, I'm sure. Oh, don't worry, continue.
Your pipe tool. I didn't even know you can.
I was playing with it just. Oh wait, I know where. Oh, I found it. Never mind. Retarded. Absolutely fucking retarded.
No, that means the conversation's good. You got so distracted. That's funny. Like they say, when you're having a conversation and you're just scribbling or drawing something without writing something without realizing, that's your soul communicating. So anyway, yeah, swordsmanship. I think that was a way that kind of reconciled the two sides that we were discussing. I mean, tradition's good. I just think I think really people get tradition wrong. They either think it's some fascist element or of control, or they think it's the end all be all to life, and something that they have to adhere to so dogmatically. I think
some people are in really dogmatic frames.
I think tradition is just solutions to problems we forgot.
Yeah, it is, and a bunch of them might not even be necessary anymore. But you shouldn't throw them out willy nilly. Yeah,
well, you're right. You probably read the same fucking thing I did, which is tradition is the solution to problems we forgot. And most often, just because we forgot the problems does not mean it went away. It just means they changed form.
Sometimes they did go away, but yes.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I would say that the loosening of Jewish dietary restriction was a case of a problem kind of going away that used to exist.
Oh, wait, that's actually a really good point. Like kosher food, you mean?
Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but I'm like throwing that out there.
I mean, yeah, it was necessary.
Because Christ overturned, those things were all ritual purity things for the Jews awaiting the coming of the Messiah. And Christ arriving meant that they did not have to be done anymore, or there were new things to do.
What about like praying before eat a meal?
It's probably a good thing in general.
I think that was a gratitude practice.
Yeah.
And
I think it's also a particular Protestant thing. I could be wrong, but I think it's particularly
Oh,
common.
man, plenty of cultures pray before eating, I'm pretty sure.
Actually, you're right, yeah.
I think it's a gratitude thing. I think gratitude is such a even the ancients knew it. And I think it's very powerful. I think there's like when I think of magic, I never think of like, like Dungeons and Dragons type context. Like I usually think of
I
like,
do, because even at this age, I still think about video games and fantasy material and game systems. But yeah, that throws off what actually magic as it was traditionally practiced is.
and then when you consider the actual historical context of magic and like the real implications of actual magic, which is more than just the illusory spectacle, but also like the idea, how would you define magic in your own words?
Two possible definitions. One is enacting the will or the mind on the physical realm, like manifesting.
Yeah.
Another is that magic is a catch-all term for those kind of behaviors that are existing outside of the dominant religious framework. If you're Christian or you're Muslim or you're Buddhist and you're enacting will in the material world in a way that's not common for the society, that gets grouped as magic because you're living already in a supernatural world.
But the thing is, those two things are not inexplicably, they're just connected. All right, they're
effective. One definition would be that there's a broader form of magic, and then within your society, certain forms of magic are allowed and others aren't allowed. And usually the ones that aren't allowed, or there's more of a gray area, is magic.
I'm just saying, no matter what, if you're engaging with the ultimate metaphysical creator, you're engaging with magic. In my view, it's just they defined it as their practice, and that's why anything else outside of that is heresy or what they call magic and all that shit. But you're
sort of I'm not saying this is a matter of control, though. It could be that. I think often it comes down to like what is appropriate magic is like prayer.
Yeah.
And then inappropriate magic,
sex magic,
is witchcraft, and it's not
yeah.
necessarily bad, but oftentimes it does go bad,
and it's misused. Yeah.
Like it very easily is. So I think there's a good reason for restricting it.
Yeah, and I do think they're like inherently connected. So basically, like when I think of magic, I just
now in our modern secular world, post-enlightenment, anything supernatural gets classified as magic.
Well, it's because people don't really think about it. I mean, because we're trained and conditioned to just shrug it off as like ridiculous, like fiction, and not without really understanding what we're writing off as fiction. Like we're fed to believe this notion of magic is nothing but shooting fireballs out. Yeah, you're shooting fireballs out of your hands and levitating and shit. Which is actually very weird that they were able to. I don't know who did that to us. To make that the norm.
I don't know. It has to be even who did it to us. I think it flows naturally from media and entertainment. I'm saying it's like it's an emergent phenomena or an emergent understanding rather than something that was like designed deliberately.
Or maybe as a species, we just weren't ready to really comprehend it. Like, because I'm a layman. I'm not some like shaman. I'm not a guru. I'm not a wizard. I'm just like some asshole who managed to find the right informational context at the right time. That happened to run parallel with a lot of life experiences. But that aside, I feel like I guess like basically anyone could engage with it, Also, like in that sense of like, with your first definition, right?
Yeah.
Where how you said it's like manifesting, like, creating your reality and shit. I mean, that to me, it's like, all right, so you play with that idea. If you're smart enough to conceptualize that or to consider that as a remote possibility in this reality of like the idea, but it's not even an idea, right? That's just a truth. Like your mental state, your mental, physical, and emotional state really coalesce into your life experience, aka reality.
Yeah, see, that's very plausible to me, but for many cultures throughout the world, magic involves like, trying to hex someone, and I'm just too much of a secular Westerner to think that works, unless the other person believes it.
I mean, but to me, you got to understand, like from the former that we're talking about to the latter, it's like the former is so much richer and so much more like significant and profound. Like, yes, the hocus pocus is cool. I like that shit. To be able to like conjure fire from your hands and manipulate water and like that's cool shit. Don't get me wrong.
Well, that is a modern invention or notion of it. Like when you went to like Africans and Aboriginals believe very strongly in magic, and they commented on whites being immune to magic. Sorry for making a racial thing here, but it shows what like I think traditional magic practices were. And so like as opposed to a witch doctor, genuinely the way magic was often practiced throughout human history was like you go to a witch doctor, you pay him some money, and he'll put a curse on someone that's wronged you.
Well, also traditionally, like let's not forget that we did live in a magical world.
Yeah.
It literally was a magical world. And traditionally, what's supposed to happen is each land, each kingdom had their own systems of magic. And the mystic was literally a journeyman. He would travel from place to place, looking up their magic and learning from them and researching them. And eventually, after enough years, centuries, or a millennia of doing that, like the journeymen got together through different lineages. And they were like, let's start a lodge. And they pulled their information together. Now we have the Illuminati fucking raping us on the daily. Maybe it's a necessary evil though. Maybe these, assuming hypothetically that these warlocks exist that secretly running our world, not with like hocus pocus magic, but real deal reality manifestation magic. Like if that's true, I mean, it would make sense that like after years of like mystic tradition, you think it just dies out of nowhere just because science came? No, they probably invented science.
Nah, I believe more of that science just came along and disenchanted people.
I don't think so. Because no matter what, like, what's the main interactive interface, or what's the main interface between humans and magic? Honestly.
What mystic
as
practices?
Far as let's say Western magic, because you know what? Now that I think about it, Eastern magic and Western magic differ in the sense. But what is like one of the biggest interfaces for Western magic? And I don't mean like hocus pocus. Like I mean like real in the context of reality.
What, like alchemical traditions?
Yeah, alchemical traditions and all that shit.
All your sigils, your lesser key, Solomon's lesser key shit.
Yeah, like what would you say is the main interface between humans and that kind of magic?
What, words?
The word. Exactly. See, you didn't even, like, that was such an intuitive answer for you because you just spit
I've
it
also
out.
read it before and I was pausing to recall it.
But
yes.
It's fucking true. And guess what? You read the Bible and it's like, it's the godliest thing because at
first,
the word. Yeah. And I really do believe, like, we take for granted how powerful words really are, which is why I think, again, the powers that be who might be privy to this, maybe like some CEOs who are part of some secret Masonic lodge or whatever, like, maybe they understand the power of words and understand that control of narrative really just means control over what words people are compelled to use when we interact with each other and when we engage with the world, because the word is that powerful. You control people's use of words, you control reality pretty much.
And the internet really favors a fixation on words because it's such a textual environment.
It's almost like imprisoning our power of the word into abstraction.
Yeah. They're sealed away in our circuit boards.
Yeah. Unless, of course, you podcast and then you force like an actual voice to be going into people's ears. I really do think that makes...
But then again, people are really big into short form video now.
Yeah, but that's not really what I'm like trying to engage with.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying this is what we do, but see, like Nick, Adam, and Stav, they felt like they collectively felt like somewhat worried that there's like a trend. Like apparently Adam knew an actual therapist or psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever. And then they were like, yeah, I actually had like multiple male young patients who came and said, I've been getting into this podcast called Come Town, and like they were worried about that. And like they looked at it as like, oh shit, we're just like attracting nothing but fucking like weirdos and freaks and people and like that.
I mean, look, they're comedians that have a young male audience.
No. Listen, let me finish. I'm thinking that the way they should look at it is like, imagine if Come Town didn't exist. How many of those guys do you think would like end up like going off doing something really destructive and
Maybe
really like fucked up and unproductive and like
that's true. I mean, look, one of the reasons why crime is down compared to the 70s
because of Come Town.
Yeah, and also digital entertainment in general, older population, less kids. When you talk to boomers, they were always like, yeah, I was bored in my teen years, so we went and like committed vandalism.
I thought like what we just throw knives at walls when I was a kid. Now like we just look at it. I guess it is better. Yeah, I mean I really would.
It's worse in some ways, but I think it is objectively better. It's objectively better that a teenage boy is trolling on Call of Duty's lobby than he's out like
when I was 14. We were setting trash cans on fire on the train station.
See, I never set trash cans on fire at the train station because I was just too online being an internet troll.
I was skateboarding. I was like going to punk shows.
Then worse off in some ways, but better off in others.
Then when I was like 15, someone pushed a girl into my arms and we ended up having sex. And that was my first time having sex. It was her like not first time, which honestly, like, when I look back, how I realized like that's a little fishy. How we were all like 14 and 15 and very sexually active. And then I look at my adult friends now and I'm like, yeah, maybe that wasn't normal. Maybe
it used to be normal. Now it's not.
Maybe it's a very New York centric thing.
It is in part, but it also used to be normal. Like, once again, my parents were sexually active in their early teens. I wasn't until my early 20s.
You were a late bloomer, as they say. Yeah.
But also, I'm not that unusual for my generation, or certainly not for
But the thing is, like, but that makes such a... All right, this is going to be a kind of a thing. So it's like, when you're 14 and 15 or 16 or like younger teen years... There's really nothing objectively sexually attractive about you in a healthy sense, for like a long-term relationship, honestly. Because like children are blank slates. Like you could be an ugly fucking teenager but grow to be an attractive human. You could be a hot teenager to us and as high school kids, but we could all grow up and you could let yourself go. So it's like you can't look at it like that. So it's like
I think one big benefit to doing it then is that you're living in a safe environment with your parents. You have a lot of time to be devoted to the relationship. There's something to be said for someone who had like a first relationship much later in life. It's that I was also working and had like an established social network separate from my girlfriend. And I guess there's pluses to it, but also meant that I neglected a bunch of other things in my life. Whereas if I was a teenager with nothing else to do but this relationship,
your boundaries would have been stronger.
Yeah.
By now, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, I just... I would have speed run through a bunch of adolescent relationship revolves that instead I did very slowly later in life.
Maybe.
But who knows? I'm a late bloomer, you're correct, and that's perfectly fine.
I just know one thing though, like, it's going through that, it changes things. It changes the way your confidence works, your insecurities work. I'm not saying they're non-existent for one way or the other. I'm just saying it changes the dynamic.
Yeah.
On one hand, you'd be more afraid about inexperience. On the other hand, you'd be more afraid about making the wrong decisions,
Yeah.
Like more afraid of, say, like, oh, I don't want to end up with that bitch.
Well, the thing is, it's just that my entire teen years, I was kind of in like a preteen mode. I think it was just a delaying of a maturation, which is fine.
I mean, that's probably...
I don't dwell on it or regret it, I should also mention.
No, it's not to dwell or regret. I'm just saying I'm just reflecting.
Yeah.
And as far as my upbringing, I mean... I wasn't raised to be that way in my teen years. It's just I was so rebellious for some reason or another.
Yeah.
Like I was obviously raised to be a studious, bookish Asian, you know, like
Yeah, basically my rebellion against my dad was being as lame as possible to spite him.
I wasn't even trying to spite anyone. It's just you got to understand. It's like, you know, no one was teaching me how to go out and be like a regular American kid, you know, and they would, it's almost like everyone in my family would rather that I stay indoors and just be a shut in. And once I started engaging with that on my own accord, I realized how much I was being kept from. Mm-hmm. I realized how much I was being intentionally like kept away from as if it didn't exist. And that made me really upset to the point where it was like, the fuck are you thinking? And then it turned into like real spite where I was like, look at your lives. Like, who the fuck are you people in my family to tell me that like you know better when you're barely struggling to make ends meet in a lot of ways? I know your heart's in the right place, but you can't like, you know.
One thing I'm very gracious of is that later in life when I was going out and doing wilder things, I could always talk to my parents about it, particularly my dad. I've never freaked out on psychedelics because my dad, when I was in my teens, told me how to ground myself during a trip, what to expect, what to look for.
Yeah, my dad didn't really get into that, but I will say this though, no matter how rebellious I wanted to get, I knew it was nothing compared to how bad my father was, which was a huge point of contention for me because that's what I feel like that's how everyone, including my own dad, was treating me. They were like, it's almost like they didn't want me to be as bad as him when he was that young. And I was like, because it's true, like no matter what I personally could have wanted to do, it wouldn't have been nearly as bad as the shit he was doing, like beating the shit out of people, getting into crazy shit, like gang shit. Like that wasn't me. But they didn't understand the difference because that to me, I guess, meant that they didn't really know me.
So by the time your dad had you, he was like making a clean cut, sort of.
I was the reason why he made the clean cut. He had me at 21.
Right.
He was like in the height of his shit. And he was like,
I have to stop being a psycho.
And that's why him and my mother split because my mother was an 18-year-old Korean girl from New York City. Well, young immigrant from New York City. And she was like, I want a bad boy like my father. And my father had me. And my grandmother was the one who made my dad feel like shit. She was like, you really think you could raise a son like this? Look at your own father. Your own father wasn't like this and he already had a hard enough time. Look at what do you think is gonna, like, you think you're gonna have it any better at all? And that's what fucked my dad up enough to change. And then my mother did not like that. Cause like he went from like an all-star of the Flushing Queens streets, beating the shit out of like Chinese, Puerto Rican, Mexicans, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like he had me. Then it's like he was like, I'm gonna get a real job and work twice as long hours, making half the money. And my biological mom thought that was lame. And before we knew it, like my dad comes home, he sees me in the crib with his mother-in-law and saying like, where the fuck is the kid's mother? And he was like, oh, she's with some friend. And he's like, oh really? So he goes to a bar / restaurant, like, you know, one of their favorite joints, and he sees her with some other dude, and then he sits down with me in his arms, and then the guy's like really uncomfortable. He's like trying to get up. He's like, no, you stay. And like he basically gave my mother an ultimatum. He was like, it's either you get up right now, come the fuck home with me, or you never talk to me or my son ever again. And she chose the latter, and I don't blame her. Like I don't resent her at all. First of all, I can't resent her because I don't know her. But second of all, it's like, as an 18-year-old girl, like, I totally get it. You know, it's like, first of all, she was probably fucked up from the beginning for being into my dad in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, that's the crazy story of like, you know, my birth parents and how they split.
Thank you for telling it.
I've told it plenty of times to shrinks, to like, you know, to the state, to New York City foster care. I had to tell the story.
Yeah.
That's why I don't mind telling it, because I'm like, it's not a big secret. It's probably stored away in some fucking social worker's desk somewhere, you know? It's all good. In fact, I'm pretty sure talking about it so many times helped me like come to terms with it a lot faster than I would have if I didn't.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense after that process.
Which was funny because, like, you know, when Richie was like all like cracked up and broken up about how honest I was with my dad, it was like, you didn't see us before. Like, you didn't see how bad things used to be between us, you know? Like,
yeah. Because you butted heads for years, obviously. I mean, you were living separately as a teenager.
I was also afraid of him. I was terrified of him. He's a scary guy when he wants to. He still is, yeah. I mean, now he's getting older and like now
chilled out, hormonally chilled out. But he was super young when you were a teenager. He was in his 30s.
Yeah.
So he's at the height of his physical ability.
Scary as fuck, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like I guess in a way, like I did kind of save him though, you know?
Yeah, it makes a lot. Huh. That says a lot then. Your dad might have very well just been killed in his early 20s if he didn't have you.
Yeah. We're like the Gilmore Girls, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, to this day, like we could stand next to each other and still sort of pass as brothers, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, you know, it was my grandmother. She was like kind of a saint. And they're not on good terms now, which is sad because my grandmother's kind of like losing it and she's getting into like her own version of like old person conspiracy shit. Like for her, it's health. She's like, I swear there's a knot developing and blah, blah, blah. And it's driving her crazy to the point.
She has like health psychosis.
Alienating her kids with the Munchausens and all that shit. Yeah. So it's like, yeah.
How old's your grandma?
She's old. She's like well into her 70s, like late 70s.
And like, what is she buying? Like a bunch of holistic health bullshit, or?
No, she's just like delving into family drama, like on some schizo shit. Like my brother-in-law wants to do this and blah blah blah, and my brother wants to do, and my father hates his uncle.
Yeah.
Because my uncle apparently like cashed out like in a shady way on my great grandmother's death, and my dad didn't like that because like that's my grandmother you did that to, you know?
Yeah.
Just some family drama bullshit, you know? But that's like that comes with the territory with big families, like when you deal with
Well, also like the core of your life is around the family, or as opposed to around people you know or meet.
Me personally,
it's a different dynamic.
I mean, that's my origin, I guess, but like that precedes me. But me personally, like I feel like I am the most isolated member, like alienated member of my family. But I don't think, I don't think they resent me for it. I think they're just like grateful that I'm not like I put it this way, I could have turned out a lot worse.
Yeah.
They were worried I would turn out a lot worse. You know, there was so many ways I could have turned out a lot more wrong than I did now, you know?
So was your dad getting like pressure from all of his relatives saying Chris is going to turn out like you, but worse?
Nowadays?
Back then, when you were young, when you were in your teens or whatever, or you don't know.
I don't think it was explicitly stated that way. It was just kind of implied because my dad wasn't around too much for my upbringing. It was mostly like my aunts and my grandmother that raised me. Mm-hmm. My dad was fucked off doing his own thing, you know?
Yeah.
Being like my age pretty much. Like, yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. I'm just piecing together the family dynamics or understanding them.
Yeah, no, I mean, ask away. I mean, there's really... It's not, I know it's not like conventional, but at the same time, it's like really pretty easy, simple to wrap your head around because it's like, there's not too many extremes. It's just imbalances. That's all it is, you know? And you know what I think? Like what my family dynamic taught me when I reflect on it is if there's any responsibility that every single person really has, it's to fix their family trauma and their family curses. Because I look at it like this, like if you take... For example, if you took reincarnation as fact, as real, you would look at family lines and you would look at that as like the transit system for souls. It's like those are the highway lines for souls to reincarnate. So if you're going to use these highways to play this game, it's kind of the only thing on your to-do list is to clean up that highway. That's it. Everything else is kind of up to you. You could be a serial killer. You could be a saint. You could be a firefighter. You could be a business, whatever the fuck you want. But there's one thing you definitely have to do. It's to fix the potholes on your own fucking, you know, on your own transit line that you just used. I feel like that's on the to-do list of reincarnated life, you know?
It's interesting because my greater family, I have nothing against either side, but I'm basically... Both my parents were alienated from their respective families, not in a harsh way.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like literally, my family dynamics are entirely the nuclear family. Grandparents, aunts, cousins, none of them are relevant in my life.
That's what I almost expected for myself.
Yeah.
You know, like, in fact, I kind of do still expect that for myself. I think, honestly, like, this is actually getting really personal, but one of the biggest points of contention between me and my most recent ex, Lauren, was that she was like so close to their family
Yeah.
And she didn't like that I wasn't like chomping at the bit to like hang out with her family all the time. Cause like I was like,
I hate that shit in a relationship. No wonder we have that in common. I hate that shit.
I was like, we're already living under your grandmother's home, and it's like I see your parents more than my own parents. Like, do I really have to do this Thanksgiving, or do I really have to? Because we were together for 3 years at that point, and I was already like, can I just not do anything? Can I just not see them? Like,
Yeah, God.
and like
the whole
and
like,
she was like, I'm Italian, blah blah blah. And I'm
Mamma
like,
Mia, yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, you're fucking active.
listen, I'm Korean, all right. I'm pretty sure Koreans have a much stronger grip on this family.
Well, hold on. The
Nazi
whole
shit.
family thing, that is everyone in the world except Northwestern Europeans. It's literally everyone in the world, generally speaking, except for English, German, Scandinavians, some French.
Yeah.
Like everywhere outside of that corner of Europe, the family is like, you gotta love the family. Like the idea of you just being an individual, or even just the nuclear family being its own thing, separate from like the greater family dynamics. That's a very Northwestern European thing.
You know what? I don't hate either archetype. It's just for me. It's like I liked being from a rich family. It's just. I mean, I don't mean like monetarily rich. I just mean like historically, like personal history wise. Like it's just there's a lot of rich drama, and I liked being the outsider to all that. Like I liked being the one that got to kind of see things in a way that they couldn't.
Yeah.
Only because like I didn't want to feel pressured into their ideas of what they wanted from me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to draw. I wanted to explore shit. I wanted to make friends. I wanted to go hang out with the other white kids and the brown kids and the black kids. I wanted to hang out. I wanted to be an American.
Yeah.
And they were getting in the fucking way. Like they were like,
yeah,
no.
they were stuck on their Asian bullshit.
Yeah,
huh?
it's like you have to study. You have to have values and learn Korean. And I was like, I don't fucking care. Like I want to watch these. I want to watch the new Power Ranger movie. I want to watch the first Pokemon movie in theater with my friends. I want to be an American.
Yeah.
And at least all my aunts were very good about that. Like they were all very understanding about that. They communicated the best. It was my aunts that read me like Shel Silverstein books, The Giving Tree, and it was my aunts that showed me all the American movies like Titanic and fucking Boys Don't Cry. and like and they were the ones that showed me what Lord and Taylor's was all about in Manhattan, and they were the ones who like they came to this country when they were like in their teens, like early teens. So they got to, they were pretty savvy, They still are.
Yeah. Yeah, once again, this is the American culture is just so damn appealing. This is coming back again to what I was talking about with the Soviets. It's like,
oh hell yeah! And for Koreans, I'm sure like every book they read was just a Korean translation of some crazy good American author, like
yeah.
I'm pretty sure like everyone in my family, like all like the Gen Xers, like my dad and his sisters, I'm pretty sure they were all avid readers.
Yeah.
And I bet you they were most enamored by American authors, whether there was not at least Western authors, whether it was like
authors,
like
yeah.
Tom Clancy,
and sometimes,
Jane Austen.
Sometimes with other countries, like you'll have you'll have a case where like a writer is big in France or he's big in England, but he never was big in America. But they got translated into Korean or Mandarin, and they're big in those countries.
And by the time they all went to college, they were already in America for at least like more than 5 years. So by then they were like into Hemingway and shit.
Yeah.
Probably more like smarter shit than I'll ever get into. Like shit. Like they went to like Polytechnic engineering
You're not
schools.
a big literature guy. I'm not saying that as a criticism, but
I'm not a big literature guy, but the only reason why I'm like somewhat read, it's because of them. It's because of my father and his sisters. It's because when you imagine being like an only child little kid, every time you go to the bathroom, you see like a dense ass Tom Clancy novel, or you see fucking like Pride and Prejudice, like by Jane. Like you see this shit as a kid, and you're curious because you watched all the VHS tapes, you watched the cartoons, you ate all your junk food, and it's just you, and it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna pick it up, like what are they reading? Every time I see my dad on the toilet, every time I see my aunts taking his shit, like what are they doing? What are they reading? I look at it and I'm like, taught me a lot. Because like I remember when I first read it, picked it up as like a 11-year-old, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Then as a 12-year-old, I was like, oh, these are some pretty interesting and bad words. Then as a 13-year-old, I was like, it finally clicked. I was like, oh, like this is pretty.
It's interesting, isn't that? Like there's
Yeah.
certain ages where it's very abrupt. Like your understanding abruptly increases. And it's not that you totally get it, but you're like 1 year you technically can read the words and recite them, but it means nothing to you. And then the next year you have like an idea of care. You have like a very strong understanding of what's going on in the story.
Yeah.
What are the
With
what's the
literature?
symbolism?
Yeah. And I think like another thing that triggered it was honestly like cinema.
Yeah.
It was. I remember one significant because I always saw Tom Clancy books. I don't know why they love Tom Clancy so much. He was like such a psyop in retrospect. But anyway, I see his books.
Is it your dad in particular?
No,
or-
it was all of them. It was
Interesting.
it was my aunts, even my the
Wonder what it is about Tom Clancy that appeals to them.
the Gen Xers. I think he was just really good for that era. He knew the Cold War. He knew like
Yeah, something
Things-
that they were immersed in, maybe coming from South Korea, the society that's permanently militarized.
In America, all
and
the
they
climate.
when they were born in Korea, it was still a military dictatorship.
yes, very, very, very. They were just getting out of some bad times.
Yeah,
But however, like as a kid, I grew up, seeing these Tom Clancy books, right? And I was like, whatever. Then at 12 years old, I watched like Tom Clancy movies, like Clear and Present, particularly the ones where Harrison Ford plays Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
And then I loved Harrison Ford because I loved Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. I loved like Star Wars movies. So I was like, oh, cool, it's Han Solo. And they're like, yeah, but watch the movie. And I watched these movies and I was like, it hits differently when you're 12 and watching the movie, a Tom Clancy movie. And then after that experience, I still saw the books lying around. So then I picked up the books again.
yeah.
And then when I read it, it wasn't just big words. I saw the scenes in the movie. And I was like, oh, So once I was able to like link the imagery, that's also when I learned how to apply like around my adolescence is when I truly learned to apply imagery to words. That's not entirely true though. The first time I recall like really vividly reading a book, I think I was like 11 or 10 and I was reading through Harry Potter like when it was fresh. Before like the full series even came out, like the first trilogy, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7. I read all of them. I mean, looking back, it was very lame, but that shit was so hot when you were a kid because that was before Twitter, it's before YouTube. You didn't have like juicy social media. You were
Once again, there's all these forms of entertainment that died out because something more stimulating came along. It's like, there used to be like fantasy adventure novels for like teen boys or for men, or adventure like action novels. Like in the 80s, they used to publish cheap, not overly well written adventure novels.
like Alex Rider.
Yeah. And like, you don't have
See,
those anymore.
I am kind of I do like literature. I am into literature.
Like all those things where it's like Brock Fistpunch is a ex-CIA agent. When his girlfriend is kidnapped by Colombian Nazis, he has to go to Latin America on orders of Ronald
The difference
Reagan.
now is that it's not like books like that are not engaging unless it's drenched in sexual like.
Books like that
These
don't get
adventures.
written anymore. They literally just don't get written anymore because video games took their place for entertainment. May I hit that?
Oh yeah.
Thanks. I suspect like women will read erotica pulp novels, but men don't really read pulp novels, and the ones that do are guys who are reading the higher brow, better written ones.
I will say this though, I do read. I just don't read real shit like fiction, like because like grow the fuck up. No, I'm kidding. Fiction's good. I just don't read fiction anymore. In fact, it's actually frustrating. Like as an adult, like I'll pick up books and I'll be like, I need to read this because it captures me. I feel less alone when I read this. But then I try to read fiction and I'm like, what the fuck am I like 13? It's very
with
sad.
fiction,
Like, it's
I
so
can read
sad.
fiction if it's actual proper highbrow literature, but I can't read a shitty fantasy novel anymore. When I was 13, I could devour them.
What's the one with the blue dragon?
Aragon? I never read that. No, I was reading stuff that was more sensational.
Okay, I got one. I got a good one that I read that I really enjoyed. I was like in 5th grade, 10 years old, Redwall. That shit changed my fucking life, bro.
Or like Ender's Game.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't get it to Ender's Game.
I really interesting. I
saw
loved
the movie.
I loved all of those
The
books
movie
as a kid.
sucked.
Yeah, I've
honestly.
heard that. That's why I never watched it. I loved all the books as a kid.
The movie
I loved
interested me so much, though. I looked at the Wikipedia for the book and the whole book series. I'm sorry.
It's interesting because I was disappointed. I was like 13, 14. I read the first book, absolutely loved it. Second one, Speaker for the Dead. It has none of the cool military sci-fi stuff. It's all about empathy and about understanding an alien psychology. But I still enjoyed it and read the rest of them. And it was a case where the first book was a lot of
It
fun.
emotionally captured you.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Because you felt the stakes. You were like, yo, dude.
It
It was believable to a teenage mind.
It was believable to a teenage mind because it had an arc of like this guy's a violent general psychopath, and the rest of it is him finding redemption or looking for redemption for his xenocide.
But then there was
But I have to admit, when Orson Scott Card started writing a guidance story about Bean, which are just cool, it's just sci-fi Tom Clancy stuff. I enjoyed reading those more because they were funner and they were talking about like space battle, military engagements, and engagements on Earth. But that kind of writing is stuff that, once again, as a teen, I could really get into. Now it just kind of bores me, or I'm like, this is poorly written.
Damn, I just came up with a great idea. Well, not a great idea. It's not even an original idea. But anyway, what I want to say is things like Ender's Game was probably like really outshined by like Dune too. Because Dune is like, wouldn't you say Dune is the better story?
Dune's a better story.
I think they're both like sci-fi stories.
They're both things you should read. Both of those are books you should read when you're 14, 15 years old and a boy.
They both expand like very long periods of time.
And they're good even if you read them later, but I suspect they're best when you're a teenager. A teenage boy in particular.
I mean, when you're older, like our age, I think if you're just getting into this genre, you're probably going to be better off with. I mean, first you need something to fuck you up, and to fuck you up, you need the 3-body problem or something. And then you could go work. You could water yourself down. It's like working your way from highbrow like movies to like, all right, let's see some like B-lister schlock, you know, just to cleanse the palate, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I ever had to write a sci-fi story, whether it was a movie or a novel or whatever, I probably want to make it noir, like sci-fi noir. Because then I could like not have to concentrate on political stuff or like the technology, or I could just act as if that's all a given, and it's from the perspective of the streets of the lower end.
Well, the whole point of noir is that the detective protagonist acts as this ferryman guiding you through all these different personalities that are existing in this scene.
But the character matters because you have to. That's asking a lot of a character's archetype to be able to contain all of that responsibility. It's not just they're not.
I mean, they're often can be kind of hollow, and it's just like they're a vehicle by which you, the reader or viewer.
That's not true because they have to have a history. A good detective, even if in a sci-fi setting, needs to have a basis for their skill set. You could go the just raw intellect route, but I don't like that.
I mean, like Philip Marlowe from Raymond Chandler is very sparsely sketched as a character. He's a talented detective. He was in the military in like World War II.
Do you like that though? Don't you want a more rich detective character as a
That's cool. Well, it's just the writer was so good, and all the characters he meets are so colorful. It's like it's like the Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski is just an avatar then.
Well, how about this? The Big Lebowski is a great detective neo-noir.
Is it?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. It's a detective story. It's a neo-noir.
The dude is a detective. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how much do you know about the dude? He's mostly like this exasperated guy who meets all these colorful figures,
Loves
right?
White Russians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just rewatched The Long Goodbye recently, which is a great movie.
Is that a Nicolas Cage movie?
No, it's an Elliot...
Oh, I got that confused with the Vegas one.
Yeah, Leaving Las Vegas.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, it is. The Long Goodbye is from the 70s. Elliot Gould plays Philip Marlowe, Raymond Chandler's character from like 1930s detective novels, but he's playing him as like a 70s slacker who's embroiled in his friend's maybe murder of his wife. And when you watch it, it's very similar to The Big Lebowski. I recommend it highly, by the way.
I'll check it out. I always watch your
I know.
recommendations. You know.
This is a 70s neo-noir, so it's like it's California, everyone's stoned, it's like a more serious
That's awesome.
70s version of The Big Lebowski. He's just like kind of fucking around and seeing all these characters.
One of my favorite neo-noir films actually was weird. It was California based, I'm pretty sure. It was Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Brick.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Because it played with the genre, I guess, a little bit in novel ways.
I mean, every character is speaking like a 30s detective story character, but it's all just high school students hanging out. It feels like a community theater production in a high school. Very delightfully, very charming.
Pretty good. It's
Yeah,
really
it is pretty good.
It's honestly, it's a real work of art as far as films go.
Yeah.
But if I had to, I don't know, like I like the idea of creating like not an explicitly told rich backstory, but an implied one.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's good, so you don't lose too much time describing it.
Yeah,
it's not central to the character.
It's
but
like the
there in
detective.
the past,
It's like
background.
like the sci-fi noir, neo-noir detective would be like, yeah, I remember this from my South American War days, and then they just don't say anything else after that.
Yeah.
You know, and then they'll have other little references like, yeah, you served in South America too, didn't you? I sure did, and blah blah blah. So you get it. Yeah. I do. And they could be standing over like a woman with her face carved off, you know? And it's like, yeah, you get it. Yeah, I sure do. Definitely looks familiar. It's definitely the MO of that unit. Because if it's a sci-fi noir setting, it has to be a post-World War III. I don't think any sci-fi setting is complete without a post-World War III like narrative, you know, like piece.
That's not the case in Blade Runner. And Blade Runner is just an ecological disaster. If I recall correctly.
I don't know if that's like as plausible as World War III.
Yeah, not anymore. No.
Actually, when I say World War III, I don't mean World War III as in like World War II, but 3.0. I mean more in like World War III would more look less like, you know, countries and barons like at each other's throats, and it would look more like international global superpowers fucking like going at each other with using countries as proxies, you know? It wouldn't be so much like we got to fight the Nazis of the modern age. No, it's going to be more like, it's like, dude, did you hear about this policy that's going to make blah, 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 this happen, and they're going to move arms, and they're definitely going to mobilize their forces here, and it's going to fuck with our supply line here. And, you know, it's like security forces are going to get way bigger budgets. The privatization of war will be in full swing. Which will be pretty cool, honestly, because they'll have way cooler toys to play with. And it's probably going to be way more televised, honestly.
I guess the Ukraine conflict gives us a good view on it, right?
Yeah. You have, like, proxy countries where, like, you know, warfare could take place. And just look at it like a TV show. And then this is also a good place where, like, companies can showcase.
That way.
What?
The Ukraine war is kind of played out that way with all the content generated by it.
Yeah, but there's better theaters. I think South America is like...
What would South America's conflict be?
Awesome.
Awesome?
Awesome. I mean, it would be horrible.
No, it would be awesome. You're right. Oh, wait, we talked about this before, like war with the cartels.
It would be horrible because of the loss of life. But
Yeah.
it would be awesome, not just with the content, but with the resource plundering, with the fucking like cultural impacts and the revolutions that would spring from it. All these people like in South America, like finally have an opportunity to shoot their corrupt fucking like baron in the face, you know? It would be pretty awesome. It's in fact, it's like I see it less as like a doomsday thing and more like a pressure release valve. Because everything else is too contaminated. Like war with Russia, China, anyone in Europe, anyone in Africa, it's all radioactive at this point. But South America is ripe.
They had a bunch of wars in the 19th century, and it would be a return to the Monroe Doctrine. We talked about this before, about how lame the global war on terror was in a lot of ways. We didn't even encourage men to take women home from Afghanistan.
What do you think the next war is going to be on. Like first we had a war against infidels, then it was war against a bunch of other things like war against slavery, war against this, war against what about war, like war against say communism, war against this. What do you think the next war is going to be against? Like if it's not like the war on drugs or war against terrorism.
What would be the ideological motive? Huh?
I don't know. It's almost like we've exhausted everything.
War to maintain American global supremacy. It would be fun to have something that was just honest and direct. It would also feel inspiring.
I think corporate wars maybe would be cool. Like Coca-Cola has beef with Hasbro, and they decide to settle it by hiring mercenaries.
Already they have legal systems to do that, so they don't need direct violence, physical violence.
So what would happen? The only thing that could trigger it is such a heavy instrument of disruption. Say AI. What if AI did become so uncontrollable that it's not like, not like Terminator shit, like where you have a Skynet, but it was more like, all right, since AI took control, we can't really use like devices in huge sections of the world that's been quarantined digitally. So like we
What is this, rogue AIs or just AI?
Rogue AIs, yeah. So
Right.
you mentioned Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
Did you play it?
I played, when it first came out, I played it to have the very glitchy release, and I played a little bit of it, yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. It didn't hold my attention, and the glitches were just too much for me at the time, even though they were very funny. I've heard it's much better and more polished.
Oh man.
Vastly more so, I know.
Yeah. I think he had a lot of shit right though. Cause South America, I mean, I only say that because
I know, cartels, whatever. We said this before on the show about how South America is a much funner environment than the Middle East.
well, it's also just I feel like how
Imagine, wait, let me ask you this. What if instead of the global war on terror sending us into the Middle East and spending all that money and time and lives there, what if instead we had just focused on cleaning up Latin America?
that's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like, because it's not just you that feels this way.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people. I mean, because the big thing is Mexico, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no one's talking about it now because the media is not really pushing it, but it's still a thing. And I don't think like illegal immigration is a problem per se. I just think that the country is run by like extremely unsavory figures that our government put in power in the first place, like many years ago. Not too many, but a few. It's almost like we set it up where there's no other solution except to annex Mexico.
Due to how culturally strong we are, it would make sense with Mexico and Canada. Or we should annex the northwest of Canada.
Maybe.
Like Alberta and Saskatchewan are already filled with Republicans.
Do you think Trump is going to survive his full term?
I'm not sure. It would be dramatic for him to die in office and for him to die immediately after leaving. If he leaves office in 2028, he's still alive, he'll die shortly thereafter.
Because he won't have a purpose, much like Joe Biden.
Yeah. And he's just so fucking old. And he's had so many health complications. He's been the main character. He's been the biggest reality TV
For like
star.
10 years.
Yeah.
That became president of the United Motherfucking States twice.
Basically, we've been watching a Truman Show like reality TV show called The Trump Show.
Donald Trump defeated
my
women?
life has been overly defined by this reality TV show I'm watching.
If I were to look back at Trump in like 10, 20 years, I'm trying to wonder how I would feel about it. Like, I got to ask Future Chris, 10 years from now, 40, 43 years old, how do you feel looking back at Trump's presidency?
Yeah.
I think he would say, It was a long time coming. Like, you know, like, because maybe it's gonna fall apart from here on out. Maybe no one's gonna take it seriously ever again. I wouldn't.
That'd be nice.
I'm definitely never gonna take it seriously ever again. Are you?
No, I'm never gonna take it seriously. But I love one of the high points of my life, frankly, is the Trump show. Like, I enjoy watching it in a very consumer bug-like way.
I would have felt the same way if Hillary won in 2016, though. I would have been like, at least I got to see like the first woman president, like the first Floyd.
I would have been so fucking depressed if I might have killed myself.
You don't know that. What if life would have been better? What if Hillary became president, you would have been happily married, working some fucking stupid fucking tech job with a beautiful wife, and she's like very boring, and you guys would have made a lot of use out of that 40-something inch TV in your bedroom, and your kids would have been running around by now, and it would have been very predictable every day, but you would have been happy. You don't know that.
That's a very real possibility of what might have happened. But I think it seems more dramatic.
Just don't act like you know it would have been better or worse.
I would actually prefer this just because of the kind of dramatic person I am. Because like I'm such a I prefer the drama and like.
No, it's just I want to write a story specifically about you. How it's like you meet yourself in the universe where Hillary won 2016 and he's like married, like stable. He's got like 3 kids and they're beautiful white children and blah blah whatever, but he's so depressed. And you're like, God damn it. And that almost makes you depressed, how depressed he is in that parallel universe. You're like, are you serious, man? Like, you know, like how would you have that conversation?
That's a great story idea, actually. Yeah.
It has to be about you, though. It's like, you know, it's like you meet yourself.
Yeah, you're right. It does. This is actual autofiction.
And then you're like, why are you so depressed, man? Like you have everything you could ever want. You're like, I don't know. It's just every day. It's like I know exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. You know, it's like
every day I'm being pegged by reality.
That's like the new better than like My Dinner with Andre. You know, it's like. I'll try to write this out, you know. It's like, you just gotta act it. You just be like, "Why are you so depressed, man?" It's like you have everything I'd want now, and it's like, well, because like every day is so predictable. I feel like I'm stuck on a loop. Yeah, it's stable, and I'm not scared, but at the same time, it's like nothing to look forward to except now. That's a good movie idea. It's like everything everywhere all at once, just minus the dramatic lesbian bullshit. Are you imagining this conversation?
Yes, I am, which is why I'm suddenly quiet.
First of all, I don't want you to look at this Carmen as like hypothetical. I want you to look at him as a real thing. He just exists in a different
universe. Yeah.
He's real because I forgot what argument I used that could kind of prove that. It's just I know that our brains are only wired to look at time in a linear way. It's not built and designed to look at things 4-dimensionally. Yeah. Just like how a shadow or a 2-dimensional being would not be equipped to look at or perceive a 3-dimensional world, you know? Just because we can't perceive it doesn't mean it's not real, you know? If something's casting a shadow, there's something higher casting it. So yeah, I think it is worth thinking about. I think it is worth pondering, you know? Also, the opposite could be true. Like, what if you were the Carmen who was like happily married and blah, blah, blah. And you know, you were content. You weren't even depressed. But then you meet like a version of yourself that's free and open and a billionaire and doing everything he wants. And he's depressed. And you're like, what the fuck? Why are you? But that's more cliche, right? It's cooler the other way around, and it's cooler the other way around because with Hillary president, yeah, like maybe me and you.
It's just like this dystopia. You know what it is? It's a dystopian alternate reality where I'm ostensibly get what I want, but everything else is much worse.
You drive a minivan,
yeah,
you know, and your job is great, but your boss is a scumbag, like.
I'm henpecked by my wife all the time.
Yeah. Even though she's beautiful, but she treats you like shit, you know?
Yeah. Fuck.
And your kids are great. They're smart. They're genius, but they're also depressed. Like one's depressed, one hates you, and one's a bully, but he's just like cool. But
Kids remind me of what I put my father through.
yeah. But the worst ones, the worst way. Yeah, this would be good, and this would all have happened if Hillary was president. And you would have turned on the news, and there would have, it would have been the same shit as it would have been 2005. It would have been like Pleasantville, except a more like modern take on it. The way I would do this show is you as you are now, and like, you live your life now, except you recently got into a TV show where, actually, no, that's stupid. But I just need you now to come in contact with the 2016 Hillary Victor version of you, because that to me would be the best like part. Because I know if Hillary became president, yeah, you and I would probably be living very vastly different lives. Honestly,
Yeah,
we would probably both be married. We would probably both be like as normy as they come.
maybe.
Even Richie would be also married. Like we would probably all three of us be living like.
This is the Dark Mirror universe. Yeah,
I like this universe, though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I do too.
Because when I think about that, because I don't know why I came to that conclusion, but when I but the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. Why, if Hillary won, we would be so much more normal, Because
Yeah.
we'd be forced to be. We would be whittled down by all the fourth wave feminists of the 2016 era. We would have all been forced to succumb. Be like, yeah, we got a woman president now. There would have been no Dime Square. There would have been no Nothing Star probably. There would have been none of this shit. There would have been nothing. There would have been no chaos. There would have been no Kanye West being a Nazi. There would have been no Epstein discovery. There would have been none of that.
Yeah, that feels right. That feels like exactly how things would have gone down. I don't know. And everything would have just stayed in the same declining pattern that it had before.
Since 9/11.
Yeah.
There would have
Since
been
the end of the Cold War.
There would have been no me learning the stock market. There would have been no me discovering God. There would have just been me like keep trying to be a DJ, I guess. Like, it would have just been me like getting more into raving and ketamine probably, and ecstasy and more into festivals. I probably would have been a festy kid. And I probably
imagine a never-ending Coachella.
Yeah. And it probably would have been all about, I'm checking my privilege. I'm checking my male privilege.
Oh, this is a real nightmare universe. This is a wonderful dystopia. I agree. Like, we narrowly dodged dystopia by Hillary losing. And
really
Kamala.
If we had to live through it, we wouldn't look at it as a dystopia.
No, I know. You're right.
We would just look at it as like, imagine how much worse it would have been if Trump won. Like, we would have been, everything would have been chaotic. Kanye West would have been a Nazi. Like, Joe Biden would have become president and he would have been losing his mind. And then Trump would have become president again. God damn, could you imagine? That's how we would have talked. Like, Chris would have been doing a fucking weird podcast. Like, Chris would have cheated on his Canadian sweetheart with that Jewish girl who worked for Etsy.
Instead, everything just
Everything.
Also, you don't have a lot of the weird, bizarre events circulating around the world. Everything that happens that goes viral is like something on Ellen. Ellen has like a locked-in monopoly, and any new meme figure immediately is gobbled up by her.
Like BuzzFeed.
Yeah. She's just an arm of the state, making sure that Hawk Tuah girl is only famous for 1 week as opposed to 3 months.
Damn, I completely forgot about Hawk Tuah.
I mean, all these things go by. It doesn't matter. There are various kinds of frivolous for different times and places.
It still would have been fun, though.
Yeah.
Hillary becoming president. My dad probably would have just been the same, honestly. He'd probably been doing the same shit. My sister probably wouldn't have joined the military, though.
How about this as a point of divergence? Trump is successfully assassinated right before the election.
We would have been in civil war, dude. That would have been awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it would have been.
Civil
In
war.
2016, yeah.
I would have been like, yo, listen, Carmen, I don't give a fuck about all this political shit. We got to stick together, bro. We just got to. Like, my dad probably would have gone crazy with the Civil War. He probably would have chosen his side right away. I would have just been like, Dad, you're crazy. I'm just going to go.
Oh, your dad would have been a Trumper or Trumpist?
Maybe, probably. You and I, though, we would go find some hippie isolationist, like, compound, and it's like we could.
What if the Civil War didn't happen and everything was actually, because most Trump supporters are old people, and in 2016 there just wasn't enough directed energy or enough military presence? What if you have a attempted revolt that's just put down?
If Trump got killed?
Yeah.
Nah, it would have been bad. It would have been very, 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 very bad. You would have had, like, people would have been so pissed off. You would have, like, literal people who kind of liked Trump but didn't say anything, actively kicking the doors down for people who actively, like, talk against it. And because you would have so many people that would have been like, yeah, I'm glad he got shot. Fuck that guy, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
you would have had libs posting on the internet constantly gifs
because he
Trump's
didn't even,
head
first of all,
exploding.
he didn't even get shot, and you already had people saying, like, he should have gotten shot. It's a shame he did it, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Imagine if he did. You would have had. That's how you would have Americans turning on Americans, because that's where it would have happened. You would have had so many people being like, "Yeah, good, good." Meanwhile, like, because that alienates people, not just like Trumpers, but that alienates like logical, rational people, or even people who just like buy into what the right side of politics. They're like, you shouldn't be able to justify killing a presidential candidate just because you disagree with him. It's like, shut the fuck up, blah, blah, blah. What are you, a pedophile supporter? Blah. And that would have been enough. You know, that would have been enough to really be like, dude, you got to go. Like, you know, like I can't share a country with people like you, which is true. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, especially what America is built on, and specifically in the country. I'm not even saying this as an American. I'm just saying, like, any American wouldn't be able to really live with that contradiction unless they acknowledge that it's a contradiction. You know, it would be fucked up otherwise. You can't celebrate the mindless assassination of a presidential candidate, no matter how much you hate him. But if you do, that means you're dumb and you're not really what this country is about. And you're still claiming to be, and that's automatically going to cause enough rage, you know? Especially if it's enough to drastically alter the course of like many people's lives. The difference would be is if it's like how the politicians react. If the congressmen are like, good thing he got shot, ha ha ha, or the senators, you know?
No, I think that they would.
They would have to go the, you know, like the.
We are sorry about his loss. Just like when he got COVID.
Exactly.
It suddenly became rude to Gore when he got COVID, but yeah. It's so crazy that he dodged an assassin's bullet, man.
By being racist. He was literally pointing at
racist statistics. It saved his life. Racism saved Donald Trump's life.
Yeah, we can't forget that part.
The fact that his ear was grazed, it didn't just miss him by a lot. It almost killed him.
It was literally like dead, not dead. Dead,
yeah,
not dead. Dead, not dead. Just from the turn of the head. Yeah, that's funny. Almost staged, but we don't know. We can't know. I hope it's not staged.
It's not staged. I don't think it's staged at all.
I mean, I do think the kid might have been a fucking. He might have been like a psyop victim. You know, obviously had to be.
Maybe he was a nobody. He wanted to be a somebody.
There's a bunch of those too.
I think.
How did he fuck that up though? That's what I want to know. Everything was literally like working for him.
Divine intervention, dramatic theatrical invention.
That's my favorite
intervention.
That's my favorite interpretation, is that God wanted Trump to not die. I love
maybe
that.
Maybe it's just a better story if he doesn't.
Maybe there's credence to this belief that collectively we decide ultimately what this happens just from our subconscious desires, because only 50.1% decided they didn't want Trump to die is the only reason why he didn't die. That could be true. You know, subconsciously.
I like that. Yeah, it's like all the voters, all the watchers at home voted on what would happen next.
Not even that, like all the years leading up to that moment, like how they all felt about Trump. Maybe it was just enough people who decided, I don't want Trump to die, that subconsciously manifested.
You know, when he had COVID, there is an Indian guy who worshipped him as a deity, a guy in India, who prayed for like 32 hours straight for Donald Trump. And then he made a miraculous recovery and the Indian guy died. I think maybe, and there was that Italian firefighter who got shot instead of him at the Pennsylvania event. It's almost like these people are giving their life energy up to save Trump's life.
Can we just admit that Trump is a level 100 warlock?
Yeah, he definitely is.
He's definitely trained in the. We're not talking about hocus pocus magic. We're talking about the Masonic kind of, you know, checkered floor, red painted walls type shit.
Look, Trump is the most powerful living wizard.
I don't know. There's Oprah. It's
Trump, man.
There's Tom Cruise.
But
Trump.
He's just the.
I think there's guys on top of Trump though. I think there's European like royalty lineage guys that are a part of this Masonic lineage of like reality altering magic, and I think they pull the strings on top of him.
I think he's the most powerful wizard. Not that he knows what he's doing. I think it's like a raw chaos.
I think Putin might be pretty good too.
If Ukraine had fallen quickly, he would have been better. But because Ukraine didn't, I don't think he's as strong. But Putin definitely is too.
In fact, maybe the most powerful wizards, you would never know their name. But Trump, out of anyone whose name you do know, is definitely the most powerful. Like, he knows his magic, dude. He definitely knows his shit. He knows what he's doing. He knows. He's listened to, apparently, allegedly, according to Alex Jones, who might as well be a prophet at this point, has literally stated on record that Trump has listened to like Manly P. Hall videos, like, or I should say records over and over again. And he's spoken to the man.
He's a big Norman Vincent Peale guy, the power of positive thinking dude from the 50s.
Trump?
Yeah.
I wonder how Trump feels about Alan Watts. I bet he knows about them.
Yeah.
All right, let's play a game. If you met Trump, like right now, what questions would you ask him? And you could only ask questions. You can't tell him things. You could only ask him questions. Pick three.
What made you fall in love with musical theater?
Are you serious? Is that true?
Yeah, he loves musical theater. He loves like Phantom of the Opera, Cats, Andrew Lloyd Webber. He loves Broadway.
Satanic as fuck.
What?
Just showbiz in general is very satanic. As far as our modern interpretation of it is always going to be satanic. The only non-satanic forms of performance media is like
podcasting.
No, it's pretty satanic. Oh, it's Platonic era shit. But anyway, what's the second question that you would ask Trump? Take your time.
I know, it's a hard one. I have another one to go after this. When did you first want to become president?
But we all know the answer to that.
Is what, the 80s, 90s?
No.
Television, what?
It was that dinner.
Oh, with Obama.
Yeah,
you're right.
Obama.
You're right.
Yeah.
Fuck. No, I retract that one. I retract that one.
But that was literally it. We all know that was it. That was what Obama was like. He'll never be president.
You're right. I retract that one.
Trump was like, all right. Because when I saw that, I was like, that was after Trump became president.
Okay. Do you believe in magic?
That's a good one.
I would just directly ask, and I'd be curious how he would interpret and respond to the question.
He would lie, obviously,
Yeah.
but he would have a tell
Mhm.
because he wouldn't expect that question. No one asks him that. All right, what's the third question?
What do you feel is your greatest achievement as president, putting aside immigration?
That's a good one too.
Like, I suspect he says some interior design of the White House is what I don't know. I would add to it, not what do you think is your greatest achievement, but what you personally are most proud of.
I think he would lie, but
Yeah.
still, no matter what he says, would be interesting as fuck. My three questions would be as follows: 1, how do you feel about pornography? 2, how do you feel?
He
about
has said on the Howard Stern show he doesn't believe in jerking off.
Good.
He
I
says
love
he's
that.
no
He's a-
fap.
he's a secret
He said
reten-
that a long time ago. He said it on the Howard Stern show.
He's a wizard. He knows
Yeah.
his magic. All right, I retract that. So instead, I replace it with, how do you feel about video games? 2,
He has referenced Barron Trump playing strategy video games.
but how does he feel about video games?
He seemed to give a neutral stance, but I don't know for sure how he feels.
All right. 2, I would ask him, if he prefers sweet or sour.
Interesting. I feel sweet. He would prefer
He
sweet.
has a sweet tooth?
Yeah. His palate is very American centric.
Okay, maybe you're right. That is a little too obvious. All right. My second question would be, does he prefer Japanese food or Chinese food?
I know he refused to eat sushi when in Tokyo.
Take it back then.
Sorry, man.
No, it's all good. No,
We're
this is
just
good.
sharing
No, it's
lore
good.
about our
Second
president.
second question is, does he know how to ride a bicycle?
Ooh. That is a good one.
And my third question is, what is his favorite car? I want to know what this man's dream car is. Or he definitely has his own dream car. I just want to know his favorite out of this bunch, you know? I'm sure it's a car that he never drives ever, but he could look at, you know? He could call a guy up. He's like, yo, send me a picture of my car. Nice. You know, like, he could do that because it's his fucking car. I want to know what car that is. I want to know his favorite car that he has because he could get any fucking car. Although, I mean, cars are interesting. Like, because when you're a celebrity, you could buy pretty much whatever car. Cars are pretty much just objects that you could acquire, much like paintings. There is one celebrity that's particularly known for his car collection, and it's already a him.
Jay Leno.
Wow, you guessed it like off the top of your head.
My dad hated Jay Leno as a comedian, but loved him as a car collector.
You're right.
So my dad watched all of his car videos, and I said, he's not funny at all.
Damn. Your dad, your dad gifted you with like that. That's beautiful insight because it's absolutely 100% true, and it's an American celebrity, which is even more interesting. Like, because you know, like car culture expands globally around the world. The Japanese make beautiful cars. The Chinese, well, no, the Chinese make.
Jay Leno did a lot of historical vehicles too.
Yeah. That's why I love his collection. He doesn't just have like the first Mustang. He has the first car that led to the design of the first Mustang. Like, he's insane. He has insane Hondas. He has crazy shit. Like concept cars. To me, that's like the same caliber of a rich person who gets like who gets the best art. Except to me, cars are almost superior to paintings because cars don't just look good to look at like you would a painting, and don't just tell a story, and don't just tell a narrative and have historical context, but they have a function. They take you from point A to point B. Nowadays they play music, some play movies, you know.
How do you feel about automatic robocars, Waymo? Driverless cars, driverless taxis.
Personal preference wise, I'm like, I'd rather drive myself, but as far as taxis go, I mean, why not? To me, it's like not that different than like seeing all these city bikes parked for like public access. You just have to have an account, you know.
Yeah.
Zip cars too, they also work that way. You just like get an app, rent a car if you have a license. So that kind of leaves cars to me as like, you know, the utility of owning one is becoming like less and less. So it's becoming more and more of a purely aesthetic thing, which I like. Cars should be more aesthetic now because, you know, utility wise, there's less and less reasons for them, you know? Ideally, you don't want really all these people with these like 2 to 5 ton fucking blocks of metal, like, you know, hurling at like 60 to 100 miles per hour. So I learned to appreciate it as like a dying thing, you know? Something that's rapidly becoming antiquated. I mean, already the right to own type shit is already going down the go. That's why I liked muscle cars, you know? I was like, this is the last bastion of this shit, this Americana car culture. Also, like, you know, I appreciate the history of like automobiles, you know? I was watching the Sherlock Holmes movie, the second one, where it's like Watson and like Sherlock were driving down their horseless carriage and they get to their destination and they even added a little quip where Watson was like, it's not bad, you know? And Mycroft comes in from the shadows, like you'll see one of those in every industrial city, you know? Did you like those Sherlock Holmes movies?
Yeah.
Me too.
Not strongly, but I like them well enough.
Yeah, me too. I think Robert Downey Jr. was a weird choice for the role, honestly.
I think he's a very good choice for the role.
It's a weird choice. You didn't have to pick an American to be that good, but they still.
No, actually, I think it's significant to pick an American, but usually a British thing like that will have a British actor. I admire picking an American actor to play the role.
I admire it too. Don't get me wrong, but
it's sort of a diversity casting for nationality. But yes,
it wasn't necessary though. You didn't have to do that. They could have picked just as good of a British actor, but you're right. It is admirable that they went American. And a hell of an act. I think that's why they picked him, because they were like, of all the American actors we could have gotten, we got.
I think also because Iron Man was so successful, maybe it was unrelated.
Star
to
power.
Yeah. Whereas it's not really star power that keeps him around. But I don't know. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is like, it's funny how he of all people became the biggest box office draw or highest paid actor, just because he was cast as Iron Man in this particular role.
I wonder how deep he is in the Masonic shit. You know, like I wonder how deep he is in the Christopher Walken type fucking like satanic shit. Because he's very successful, you know, but he's so smart successful. He's like, everyone likes Ryan Reynolds, but Robert Downey Jr. is basically God in a lot of sense. Would you place him higher than Chris Evans?
Who?
Robert Downey Jr.
Yes, very much so.
There you
go.
Yeah.
Very much so. He gets paid more than anyone else in the MCU.
Really?
He's also yes, vastly.
Shit.
Like he gets like, I don't know, everyone else off the Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, they're getting paid like 10 million, and Robert Downey Jr. is getting paid like 20 million.
Jesus. He never has to like work. He's a very curious actor, isn't he? I mean,
he had this career when he was young and was more artistically focused, and then his drug problems derailed him. And then he made this unexpected comeback.
You think he was born for the role of,
Tony Stark? Yeah, he's very well cast as it.
Apparently, people cried at the audition. Like, he just walks in, he did a couple scenes, and people like cried when they were like, "Dude, this is too good." Who could have done it better, honestly?
I can't imagine any other actor. It actually, his casting in that was so good. It gave a lot of excuses to other comic cape bullshit.
She caused the end of the world. You know, what was a recent movie that I watched that I actually really enjoyed?
What?
The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes or whatever.
Yeah,
Kingdom of
the Planet of the Apes remakes are very good. They're consistently quite good.
It's because they reflect a lot of well, they're starting to touch on, like, you know, they're representing like Caesar as Jesus Christ, you know, Julius Caesar, JC, Jesus Christ. You saw the newest Planet?
No, I haven't.
You should.
Been a while since I've seen one of them, but I'm fond. I mean, it's a consistently strong. Like, even with the original movies that are consistently strong, and the remakes are as well.
All right, dude. Let's put all of our focus on turning your place into a place to ingest culture, like making the movie viewing place more
Get an
immersive.
actual projector for the basement, which
Or
is
a
long
bigger
overdue.
TV.
Yeah,
And then get a comfier couches, make like maybe like just make it even create a music listening room with a record player, a sick ass. I could help with the sound system, you know, like a mixer. We could do it for cheap, and I know how to make it good for cheap. Like, you don't need a $10,000 stereo head. You can literally
interesting.
use like a chain of like cheap things to make it sound very, very, very good. So we could set your place up to be like a place where it's like you come in and you ingest media in the heaviest, most immersive sense.
Yeah.
We'll turn
I really like
we'll
that
turn your bedroom into the music room. We'll turn downstairs into the cinema room.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. I'll donate those 2 fucking huge ass 8-inch speakers I have into the thing. So if you ever threw a party, we could just move those downstairs or whatever, and it'll be there.
Mm.
And I also have spare mixers, or either way, like, interfaces are so cheap now. Like, I just know how to tune it, right? Like, just give me the right little couple of like things instead of like one big like manufactured unit where I could get like a couple of like things to chain it just right. All I need is like a compressor, an EQ pedal, like, and I can make it sound better, probably. It's like I could do it.
I believe it. There's a lot could be going on with the house now that we have control over it.
Yeah.
Anyway, how are you doing for time?
Past 2 hours. I'm just gonna wait till this joint's finished. Then we could.
I always ask the same question at the same time. I like to try to pull in the episode.
Yeah. No, it's all good. I mean, I just want to get it to a point where it's like, you know, they feel bothered when they don't have their weekly Terrorisk episode, even if it's only like a few people. Like, that's all we need. It's like
Are you always doing me as a guest every week, or are there other rotating casts of people?
I used to concentrate on doing more episodes than I'd have to do the weekly, but it's like I like it. I like doing it with you, but it's like if you're comfortable with expanding and trying new things, it's just, you know, I have a lot of ideas like streaming and doing radio shows, and we could incorporate music, but I want to get you into the groove before disrupting and oscillating that, you know? Are you into the groove?
I think so. I've been doing this for a long time now.
All right, so then we could incorporate music and we could incorporate things. And I also want you to write a bit, you know?
I know. Yes, I will.
But you're not used to writing because you know
Right.
why? You're homeschooled. You're not used to like that
That's true.
fucking shitty culture of like, write this report, write this essay.
which also like enables a lot of laziness on my part, frankly. But yeah,
No, it's fine. I think once you get into the habit of it, you'll like it a lot. Do you still journal?
I've never done it consistently.
Well, you could put it this way. At least you can take solace in the fact that you can only do it more consistently.
That's true.
You know, like you can't do it any less consistently than not doing it altogether, you know?
Yeah.
All you got to do is just turn the knob up with everything.
Yeah.
I mean, anything's like that. You get a knob, you could turn up the
11, yeah.
But journaling is one of those good things to turn to 11 because A, it doesn't hurt anyone, doesn't hurt you. It only benefits. And you get a lot of like internal content. You know, not like external content that you produce or consume, but it's internal content. It's internally enriching, and it makes all the other content better. That's why it's important. I push it. It doesn't even benefit me to push it. I just know it's so beneficial that like I have no choice but to push it. Like whether it's I'm talking to like my dad, my siblings, my boss, my coworkers, my enemies, my friends, no matter who, I'm gonna be like, you should really try journaling. Like it's really good for you. It's like at least be the first person you dissect every day. Check in with your mental state, your physical state, and your emotional state every single day, so that like you're not flying through life blindfolded. That's why I say do it. I don't say do it just to be cooler or to make you feel better about yourself. I'm just saying do it because you don't want to fly through life blindfolded. Also, you don't want people getting the jump on you when you could have easily avoided it just by dissecting yourself in the morning. Just like, this is how I feel physically. I feel good for the most part, but my stomach is a little grumbly and my shoulder's a little sore, but that's to be expected because I ate like shit. I drank and I did swordsmanship, so I'll rest today. And then it's like, how am I feeling mentally? Well, this is what's on my mind. I'm thinking about money a lot, thinking about making music, thinking about keeping up with the podcast, what I'm going to talk about in the next podcast, and blah, 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 my schedule. And it's how am I feeling emotionally? Well, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for life. I'm thankful to God and all that shit. And that's it. Every day, all you got to do is just write that down. It takes no less than 5 minutes if you let it,
And puts you in the right mindset, the right frame.
Again, like I then after doing that, it's like other people could say whatever they want to me. They could try to define me. They could think they know whatever. But I'm like, motherfucker, do you even know yourself? Like you're here saying like, I'm thinking this, I'm feeling this, I'm being this, whatever. But what about you? How are you doing? Like, I know how I'm doing. I checked in with myself like I do every fucking morning. But what about you? How do you feel? What are you thinking right now? Like, what are your emotions looking like? Like, have you checked in at all? And 9 times out of 10, it's no. It's no. 9 times out of 10, people are flying through life blindfolded. I know this for a fucking fact. It's true. You know this for a fact.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
This is why I'm saying, like, it's as a man, there's no reason to be a black-pilled incel because, like, the competition is nothing. It's so low. The bar is set so low. Like, so fucking low. All you got to do is give like 10% effort and you're already ahead at like 9 out of 10. That's what I'm trying to show people, and like no one's getting it. I could say it as plainly as I want. As in like people have it so easy that they're just living like pieces of shit. And all you got to do is just put in like 10% more effort than usual and you're already ahead of like nearly everyone you see. But they'd rather be caught up with, no, I'm oppressed. No, I'm a victim. No, I gotta change my gender and that makes life harder for me. No, I gotta believe in this religion and people are already hating me because of that. No, I gotta support Israel and I'm a victim perpetually because of that. No, I gotta support Palestine and I'm a victim perpetually because of it. It's just all these excuses to be like, to just not do the thing.
Yeah. I think a goal in life should be I pray to God every night, genuinely, that I can become a rapist of Palestinians and Israelis.
What's fucked up is like,
how well did I maintain a straight face? I was trying really hard. It was really hard not to burst out laughing along the way.
Well, all I could say is God is within all living things. Whether you've been raped by them or whether you rape them, God is within them, like it's true. We still got to finish this.
I know. We have to rape this spliff.
I do think the 2016 era, like all the shit we've dealt with for the past 9 years, has led to us literally like not normalizing rape, but normalizing the rape narrative. Where it's like you could say the word rape and immediately people are going to inwardly roll their eyes so hard they could pass out. They're like, all right, let's hear this. What do you got to say about rape? But it's almost like it's becoming so redundant because people are so desexualized now.
Yeah.
Not just
No one even fucks. Fewer and fewer people fuck. I mean, they do in New York City, which throws you off, but in a lot of the country, they don't.
people still fuck though.
Yeah.
They're just mostly like poor people. Poor people are fucking the most with little cares as to whether or not they have kids, because they got nothing to lose. Who cares if they like? What do they care if they have more kids? Like they're still fucked either way. At least now they're not alone, and maybe their kids could help out around the house. Something wrong with expecting that, you know? Like no matter like I can't look at a problem of like desexualized humans while we have like 8 billion people on this earth. Like while 100 years ago we only had 1.5. I keep fixating on that, but it's true. It's like it's mind blowing.
Well, if you want to depopulate it, there's a lot of other areas of the world you should depopulate.
I'm not gonna look at it segmented because like humanity is humanity. Like especially nowadays, like just because you depopulate Australia by 90% doesn't mean like a whole bunch of Chinese people can't move in there or something. That's what the British did in the first place.
Australia wasn't very populated anyway, but yes.
You could do that to anywhere. So that's like to me, it's like it's whatever. Anyway, everyone be grateful. Also, I don't know. I guess like keep having kids or don't. Like if you don't want.
That's
to.
a great answer. That's a great statement. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.